Who is this global predator? The cells down there at the deeper levels have creatures that may not look like human beings. And I'm convinced that the invaders, predators that invaded and enslaved the human race on our planet Cell Midgard, came from the underneath levels. Some kind of united conglomerate of underneath predators, a reptilian, Draco-type creatures. So, if among our friends and ancestors that are located in neighboring Chertogs, that we used to call gods, like Spherical, Perun and others, there are dark entities beneath. Also powerful creatures that live and need to feed on human energy, that are vampiric, demonic in nature, like Velzevuv, Milo and others. Now when did they invade our Earth Midgard? And what stages did we go through, at that time? To begin, let's have a look how long we humans have been living in our Midgard Earth cell and how the story they teach us in schools about human history is a complete lie. We have been here for a very long time, and we were called the Rus people. This name means simply being of light. It's not a nation or genetic code definition, it means being of light. There is also another name of Aryans, which means the same people of light, people with light in the mind and heart. We human beings had been living on our Midgard Earth for approximately 1.5 billion years. The Midgard population at the time were people of light, people with light in the mind and heart. 1.5 billion years ago, the Captain Spherical arrived on a spacecraft from another Chertog to our Midgard Earth and founded a new settlement, a kind of eco-village of Rus people here, beings of light. There are plenty of Russian fairy tales. One of them speaks about how Spherical was sending a duck to find Earth for settlement, and why the duck had a red beak. Now we will jump to the time of 40,000 years ago, when God Perun arrived in a spacecraft to Midgard Earth, and here is what he said to people of Midgard: "My name is Perun, son of Spherical. I have come from another Chertog, Asgard, Urij Zeml'a Svagi Nebesnoj, where the river flows Iria. There will be times here on Midgard Earth when dark entities will arrive from the underneath Chertogs, and they will be trying to settle here on Midgard Earth, and try to fool and cheat, tell lies and outsmart you people by many means and their smart ways. They will try to marry your women, and will do many horrible things to your place and your people. Their purpose is to poison the souls of your native people of Midgard, so that you won't be able to reach Asgard Earth." Now the reason they gave us warning at the time was because of the war that was going on with dark entities on many other cells, Chertogs, of the Big Sphere. So they knew that dark forces were planning to visit and poison Midgard Earth. So we had to meet the invaders, predators, with our own military power available at the time, and stand and defend our land and people to the best of our abilities. Here are some of the words of wisdom that were left to us from our ancestors: do not follow the dark ways, but the ways of lightness and light, because those who go dark ways will perish. Do not listen to those who speak lies and cheat, but recognize the truth. Do not listen to those who say that life ends, and do not listen to those who say that your neighbor is your enemy, but listen to those who say that your neighbor is your friend. Read the words of wisdom 3 days a week. The week was 9 days at the time, on 3rd, 7th and 9th day of the week. And remember how we won the battle with Dark Entity, Koshi, and broke the egg of evil that was the moon Lelya, a spacecraft of Koshi's, and that caused the flood. Remember the 15 years of journey from Daria land to Rasanya land, and the feast and holiday of a successful journey after the flood, and how we celebrated with our ancestors our 16th year after the journey to Rasanya. Do not eat the food that has blood on it, but eat food that is clean of blood, the food that grows in the fields, gardens and forests of the land, then you won't get sick and suffer from diseases. Remember your ancestors, and defend your brothers and sisters and mothers, your daughters and sons, and remember your kin and your relatives. Do not be jealous of luxuries and splendor of foreign lands, but remember that you yourself can make miracles. Do not try to convince those that do not want to listen to the words of wisdom. So the invaders, predators invaded the land of Midgard 40,000 years ago. The predators were using the tactics of cowards. They didn't go for open battle. Instead they attacked places where they wouldn't meet any sound defense, and slowly, gradually captured a big portion of land under their control with all kinds of technology, money, drugs, alcohol etc., and smart devices they used to fool and delude the people of Midgard. They were capturing people like wild animals, mostly women and children, so they could change their mental and psychological configuration to serve their hidden agenda in the future. And women were used for breeding the mutant species to be used in the hidden plans and agenda. People were aware of the stuff that was going on in Midgard, but there were not many resources to stop it. Our ancestors used to build and use pyramids as portals to move into various chertogs. Those pyramids are different from Egyptian pyramids. The real pyramids are hidden in many places throughout the earth, in the jungles and forests and under the oceans. The pyramids have many functions, but we talk here about moving from one chertog cell to the neighboring cell. So with time, gradually people were poisoned, infected with the virus brought by predators, and the population of Midgard was divided into two parts. On the west formed the civilization of Atlantis, mutants of invaders, and on the east there were still people of the light. People of the light lived in harmony with the land. They had a knowledge of how careful and caring we needed to be for Mother Nature. Their ways were spiritual and magical ways. And the population of Atlantis were developing high-tech stuff and industries that we have today in modern society. Atlantean people were doing a lot of exploration of minerals of Earth like we see today, the results of which we see at the Grand Canyon in Arizona, and in other places, and all kinds of perversion that can be seen in the pictures. They were totally programmed by the predators to do their devilish, vampiric stuff. And Perrin was saying, because of the influence of the predators, people will forget the wisdoms of our ancestors and do a lot of mad and perverted acts. Perrin, son of Spherical, said, there will be merchants and false prophets that will tell you lies and stories to lure you into their wicked ways. People will start doing their wicked stuff stated here: lust, lie and cheat, ignorance, laziness, worry and satisfying belly habits, lack of self-responsibility and decision-making. Those wicked ways helped the manipulators to cause conflicts and wars among people of Midgard. You probably heard in the Vedic scriptures about Kali Yuga, the night of horror and loss. I will call this phase a kind of putting people into a delusional sleep that they aren't even aware of what they're doing. The last time this happened on our Midgard Earth was 250 years ago. Now back to our real story, history. 13,000 years ago, Atlantis became strong enough to be used as a weapon against the neighboring population of Midgard. They started to attack first the country Hyperborea. They used nuclear weapons, and that was a terrifying war which destroyed both Atlantis and Hyperborea. And the manipulators needed the human population to be saved to a certain extent because they wanted to use and abuse them as a cattle and sheep stock that we can see today in our modern society. During the war 13,000 years ago, the Ark-Moon spacecraft Zeml'a was destroyed because it was captured by our enemies and we had to blow it up. That was a loss, but it destroyed the main forces of our enemies that allows us to survive until today. Here are some of Perrin's words: you will recognize your enemies by their wicked ways. They put on a lot of makeup, and they can be both genders, male and female, at the same time, and they are secretly hiding their appearance from the public. Now about wars. Any acts of war and action on any land will cause a loss of population on both sides, allowing the predators to steal population, children, goods, and to take control of the land. They are not interested in victory for any side, they have their own hidden agenda. Perrin's words: there will be a lot of wars that will wipe out the population of humanity. And more deaths of human beings gives energy to the predators. The only purpose of all acts of the global predator is to convert the remaining population after wars into obedient cattle and sheep. You may meet a lot of people today that will say, "I do not want to know anything. I'm enjoying my job, my house, my car, and my supermarket. I love my present life and do not see any slavery here." So the population that was left after war, disaster wanted to live and have food and shelter. They are almost ready to become obedient cattle. So, after all the calamities, the predators succeeded in dividing Midgard Earth into various regions, colonies, countries with different languages and religions and customs. So it will be easy to put them into conflict or competition and easy to manipulate and control them. So, 7,524 years ago, started the creation of our world in Star Cathedral. One of the tools of the global predator is to wipe out the memory by changing calendars so often, and rewriting history every 200 years or so. But our memory is alive and kicking because it is in our genes. Genetic code memory. Now, an example of historic war 7,524 years ago, was between the Rus population and the country where China now is.